I had a really interesting chat to a client only Monday morning. I met a new client, and we immediately go up and we hit it off straight away. We immediately go up and and we're talking about, what is this thing we call life? And it's just a snapshot of something bigger. And this is getting a bit existential now, but it's a snapshot of something bigger. So, the 80 years that we have here, we have to make it meaningful. And if we hold things within us, and I'm really bad for doing this, holding emotion, holding thoughts, holding secrets sometimes, things that rack me with guilt or shame, by holding those within us, we don't get to live the free life that we should be living, because we're only here for a very short period of time. And I'm sure there's probably some individuals out there listening to this who are religiously minded, and forgive me, I'm not. I don't necessarily think that we get a second chance. So we got to make use of the time that we have.
Yeah, really beautifully put. And so who cares really what people think, when it comes to being open and honest and vulnerable and truthful. I mean, where are you taking those secrets? There's very little point in holding on to them. Otherwise it's just literally depressing.
And it manifests itself, depending on what the secrets are, with guilt and shame. And then that just compounds and gets more and more. So you hold those secrets or push those secrets even deeper. And as we said, it doesn't let you or allow you to have that free life. Maybe we should. And that's where safe spaces like therapy and stuff like that can really help.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's people who've listened to the podcast before have heard me talk about Monumental, which was the network that I founded. And people talk about safe spaces. And some men will go, oh, literally go, what are you talking about? But it's a space exactly as you just described it, with no shame, no guilt, no judgment, and just doing a lot of listening and a bit of talking and just hearing the wisdom shine through. And it's so powerful.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not for everybody, because everybody's on their own journey, and everybody is on their own part of that journey. And if you ask me, the 30-year-old Kenton that we mentioned before, that was ripping it around the Alps and was just in it for me, I would have been one of those people who say, are you kidding me? You have to go and see somebody to offload your worries and your anxieties and your secret. But it wasn't for me, or I didn't think it was for me back then. But then, maybe as you get older, maybe you can't hold those secrets anymore, or maybe it becomes too much, or maybe the door is opened by a loved one. In my case, Jazz, and she might say, I maybe you just need to talk this through with somebody, or maybe you need to be more open, or maybe you need to have a dialogue with somebody, and it may work for you, it may not work for you, but what it is that you're doing right now isn't working. So why wouldn't we try something else? And it's not going to be for everybody, now, and there of course there's going to be naysayers, because, as I said, they're on a different journey. They're on their journey.
You're totally right about timing. Everyone's on a different time, on a different fuse or length of fuse. But I think particularly when men get into their 40s and 50s and start to become a bit more reflective, I don't say it's depression, but it literally, those kind of secrets can literally be pressing down on our shoulders, right?
Oh, hugely.
Anyway, look, Kenton, I've taken up loads of your time.
Yeah, it's been fascinating. It really has. And I think we've only just sort of scratched the surface in many ways. And it's interesting. Even just articulating helps. It really does. It'd be fascinating to hear what some of the audience think, or some of your network, in terms of just having the ability to express doubts or fears or anxiety or self-doubt, even just by doing so, I think help bolster.
100%. I just almost said, one of my questions, which was percolating for me, is whether you lead by motivation or inspiration. And I can see it's also a sort of interpretation on the power and presence question as well. But the motivation sort of drips off you in terms of what you've done. But the inspiration for me is seeing the way in which you are open, and even like a warrior of a man who's been up to Everest 18 times can come and shed a tear and actually say, you know, things are, I have the same fears and doubts and worries as the everyday man.